Buddy, as we are going to get this day off started right for you with some Overwatch. I am your caster, Rich Red, here with Necra. Necra, how are you doing today?
I'm doing so good, Rich. I'm so excited to be back for day 2 of playoffs here. We've got Richardson High School Nuclear versus Farmington High School Pioneers, and we're loading into the first map already of Busan.
And it's an amazing organization, Electronic Gaming Federation here, sponsored today and as of yesterday by UConn School of Engineering along with UConn Gaming Club. And like you said, Busan is the first map for today. For those that are newer that have not yet maybe tuned in, it is going to be the first team to 4 for this quarterfinals moving into the semifinals today. And these two teams are going to go head-to-head. And we saw actually the regular team yesterday. This is the varsity team for Richardson Eagles. It's going to be, again, Nuclear versus Purple, which we did see yesterday. So just for those that might have tuned in yesterday, it is the varsity team today, and we're going to see how much more elevated the gameplay is by them today.
I think the elevated gameplay is going to be really apparent because Richardson High School Nuclear ended up with a 6-2 record for the regular season. And I think that just speaks volumes as well to how well also their purple team performed yesterday because they had that scrimmage partner in their varsity team. Now, though, looking at what we're leading the charge with for both of these teams, I'm a little surprised to see Richardson High School Nuclear running the double shield that got nerfed with this new live patch. But Farmington High School Pioneers, they look like they really got the memo here, running that Reinhardt and that Zarya, a very classic combination we've seen many moons ago.
And trying to get some great pressure forward. Nuclear is aggressing in the back. That Sigma play still being very relevant right now. They're not going to waver away from those recent patch changes that we've seen. No one yet going down, but Dr. Drago needing to be very careful on that Reaper. A lot of focus in the backside, but this May, Dark Wall getting a lot of pressure on the high ground, forcing the back line of Pioneers to really be careful. This now Earth Shatter going to gain some value, switching it over, and you see Pioneers taking this first.
You do see Pioneers taking this first, unfortunately, for High School Nuclear. That means that they need to come in and try to get this death ball style of composition that Farmington High School Pioneers is running off of this point. And to make matters worse, we have a sound barrier ready, a nano boost from Milk Fits that's playing the Ana as well for Pioneers, ready to go. So bubble support ultimates, and that means that this Reinhardt Earthshatter is going to come up once again so quickly here. Orisa really doesn't have a great way to block that.
On the inside, Mayo being very careful to wait for that damage with that hammer. Nice wall to block with a sound barrier, but an early pick going to come out on the front side by the Genji play. Graviton into the Immortality field. No explosive damage, but just enough to slowly pick the remaining members off on the Nuclear team, and it's going to be another reset at 50%.
I really don't think this Orisa's the right choice here. Maybe with the sound, maybe with the supercharger there that Paradox has online, and the Gravitic Flux and a couple of other ultimates peppered in on top, Richardson High School Nuclear can come back, but it stands to reason that they still have 5 ultimates on the side of Pioneers to get through if Nuclear wants to touch this point. So it's going to be a bit of an ult fiesta here from both of these teams.
And like you said, that Orisa, the Dragon Blade in the back, though, immediately going to be covered by a shield, forcing out the Cryo Freeze. Immortality field activated, but slashed immediately after. Nelseg able to get a great follow-up with that ultimate, using it in tandem with the Nano Boost, cleaning house as 80% continues to climb.
There was no defensive ultimate ready on the side of Nuclear, which just made it so much more potent, that nano-boosted Dragon Blade from Pioneers. And they still have 3 ultimates, maybe even another Graviton here coming out from Xin to be able to keep this point.
Earth Shatter from a flank by Mayo could have held a little longer because it was only the Orisa who had to fortify, but the damage is still looking to follow up here. Dr. Drago getting overwhelmed, has to force the Fade to try and remove themselves from the position, and the dash in the backside by the Genji play. Consistent pressure, numbers advantage though in favor of Nuclear, forcing the team of Pioneers back. This is the opportunity to change it back over because that Supercharger gave so much damage.
Supercharger does do so much damage, and Paradox put that in the exact right spot where nobody on the side of Pioneers was going to be able to touch that. But Narcissus better work up to this sound barrier and fast because the Dragaton is coming. Super has that Q ready to go, and Xin in tandem with that Graviton is going to make sure that everybody gets balled up for that Dragon Strike. So looking at Narcissist at the moment.
There it is, in on the front with the Dragon Strike. The Immortality Field does come out. Dr. Drago getting a great turnaround with the Death Blossom to try and pick the backline off one by one, keeping this point, holding on to the Blizzard, and are in a good spot.
I thought the sound barrier was going to be the thing that saved this push for Richardson High School Nuclear, but I was wrong. It was actually the Death Blossom here from Dr. Drago. A very good defensive use of that ultimate, which is something that you don't see super often here, but it means now that this Blizzard from Dakwall going to be so important because you hit that Q, you hit that button, and usually you could just freeze the whole progress of the enemy team.
Nuclear playing very forward, wanting to manage this choke. There's the double kill. The Orisa starting to give some great usage in this tight corridor, allowing that double shield composition to really mitigate a lot of damage regardless of the health values of these barriers.
Health values of the barriers was something I was concerned about, which is why I said I don't know if Rivers is the right choice here, but I think this is going to be more of a problem next Genji.
A Nano Blade coming out, but right in the center of the Blizzard. So much value already yielded. Just drawing attention away with that Nano Blade outside the circle. The Blizzard was a great response to it, but could not prevent the team of Nuclear from being overrun. Overtime ticking away, and that's going to be map 1 on Downtown, going to Pioneers.
It was really unfortunate that Dr. Drago got taken out so early in that last fight because it meant that there was a two-man advantage for Pioneers to be able to come back and take control of the point. No Lucio meant no Song of Speed or healing available, but we're on a different map, a little bit more brawly here. I actually expect that this is going to favor Pioneers' style of play, but we're also seeing a different strategy come out from Richardson High School Nuclear, where Skyper, who was playing the Sigma, is actually going to switch over to a different type of shield, that Reinhardt, making more of a death ball composition even for them. So want to just point out that Genji on the other team of Pioneers can't deflect Reinhardt hammer swings. So this Reinhardt for Richardson High School Nuclear might be exactly what they need in order to change the script.
Taking the fight on the high ground, Mayo leading the way for the side of Pioneers, looking for an early engage. The shield coming out, that Zarya giving a lot of barrier to press forward, getting an extra amount of energy as well for that practical new DPS. Gets the kill after the Immortality Field goes down. Hulk gonna mitigate this team of Pioneers back with the Storm Arrows, just completely crushing the remaining members by Super, forcing the team back, and will look to transition on Pioneers to claim this point.
I thought Super was a tank player. Are you telling me that Super is flexing on everybody now? The shock player, the main tank player is actually in this lobby trying to play some DPS? Because it sure looks that way. Super, with those Storm Arrows, so much damage has gone in that they are now 30% towards the Dragon Strike, which in these close quarters can do so much damage.
Immortality Field inside of that Bionade. Great usage to survive through it. Early pick, numbers advantage going in favor of Nuclear. Great job using that defensive support ability to survive through the Bionade, collapsing quickly, picking off one by one. Skyper on the front doing a great job, getting the pin onto Super, who's caused a lot of problems here, and look to turn it back. But the Dragon Blade actually going to come out and will get a valuable turnaround here as Wheezy gets the melee. The Reaper, the only one remaining, and this Genji play has been on point.
So hard when you don't have a support player on your side. You could see how critical that was for Farmington High School Pioneers, where they still had the Lucio, and then the Genji just popped Q. Yeah, you could have waited for the Nano Blade, but there's still other things, and this is where I'm talking about the Dragon Strike just going into these tight-knit corridors.
Halt bringing the Reinhardt forward. Mayo able to just maneuver past that wall, coming up without the Blizzard soon after. Supercharger going to lead into this. Extra damage. The Hulk going to pull them forward as Dakwall gets a kill onto Super. Huge benefit to move forward into. Holding the support ultimate, though. Not going to use the amplification matrix until there's an opportunity to utilize after the Supercharger has dissipated. Clustered together. The Halt is there. Narcissist also having the sound barriers. The Earth Shatter is going to be utilized to get the clean knockdown on 3 members, allowing Nuclear to clean the point and gain some percent of their own.
The beautiful part about this is that Richardson High School Nuclear only had to use 2 ultimates, which means that they still have 4 to rotate through as the Pioneers make their way back in. But it's going to be some Reinhardt mind games here because Mayo on the Reinhardt for Pioneers is working up to the Earth Shatter, and we know how potent that ultimate can really be here.
Graviton in the front with the Dragon Strike. Immortality Field coming out, stacking ultimates. Dr. Drago getting the benefit out of this. That Immortality Field did not go down. You see the arrows in the side of it. Not enough damage to prevent it, with the Dragon Strike being used and forcing Pioneers back.
Remember what I said about not being able to deflect Reinhardt hammer swings? Because that's definitely something that happened here in Richardson High School Nuclear, doing such good work of using Dr. Drago's Death Blossom as a defensive ultimate. Yeah, there were a lot of ultimates pressed in that fight, but they still have a couple left here at the Blizzard. That team-winning ultimate can really be utilized here by Nuclear to hold control at this point, as long as they don't give it up.
Pioneers sweeping underneath on the low ground as the Dragon Blade comes out, sweeping that Immortality Field away as the Amplification Matrix try and do some work, but it's gonna be a triple kill in favor of Pioneers with this Genji. And I am telling you right now, Nuclear really needs to keep an eye on that Genji play, because it has been consistent with the ultimate usage.
Well, it's tough because Narcissus has wanted to save that sound barrier for so many different reasons, and you kind of can't do that at all times.
Now, in front, Earthshatter comes through on the stairway, will only gain one knockdown, but with that early pick, it allows the side of Richardson Nuclear to move on to this point, claim the objective. In the backside, though, Nelse looking to really get some pressure with the Genji does go down, and a switch over at 70%.
Switch back over. One more team fight. That's really what we're looking at here, and there's another window of opportunity from Norris's Baptiste ultimate. That amplification matrix going to be so critical when, again, these choke points are so deadly for receiving some of that long-range damage, and of course you got the supercharger on top.
Maywall going to prevent them for as much time with that extra damage. Overlapped those a little bit, feeling that they didn't have as much usage of the supercharger, but Pioneers playing respectively. They hear the ultimate's usage. Now going to the low ground as they've done once before. They have to make it there. 1% to go, but the Maywall's going to be there again. Nobody gets to touch it.
Nobody gets to touch it. We didn't even have to see the Baptiste ultimate used here. This is going to be a 1-to-1, which is what we expect from teams of this caliber. Farmington High School Pioneers, another team that we saw go with a very positive match record over the course of the regular season. And it all comes down to this, the smallest control point in the history of Overwatch. It's going to be Busan's Sanctuary, that drum. Such a small point of cover to capture if you're either team, and I really like the adjustment that we saw here coming out from Nuclear. That Skyper on the Reinhardt. Just such good work with that hero.
In addition to not only the small compactness of the spot, there's a lot of obstacles that are really in the way. The architecture of the pillars can prevent a lot of incoming damage, watching where they're using that Immortality Field to give a lot more benefit.
Yeah, that Immortality Field, such a critical tool for these players on Nuclear as well, where they can utilize that in tandem with the sound barrier to just have so much sustain in these fights. But you gotta watch those cooldowns. I've seen a couple of mistakes so far, and just some really awkward choices of when to utilize that sound barrier.
Mayo frozen in the back, getting a lot of CC by Dakwall. Great job from that May play as the charge has not yet been committed. The Zarya shields have been on point as well, mitigating a lot of damage. Super hyper-focusing that Immortality Field to make sure that nobody is going to stay alive, as now Skyper goes in the back looking for the pin, doesn't get it. The sleep's going to be there, and a huge pick off early, taking down that primary tank. Paradox going closely after, and this is just going to be a cleanup for Pioneers.
Ooh, Pioneers, I feel like are really feeling this new patch right now, because the way that Xin is working on that Zarya right now, look at how highlighter charged Xin is on this hero. So much high charge, so much damage, just melting through targets on the enemy team. And the way that they've been using their bubbles has been very selfless. I think that's been really helping with keeping this charge high for this hero.
Rotating those shields between Skyper and Paradox. The Earthshatter going to be blocked, even though you saw the jump by Skyper almost getting just under. The early pick now onto Mayo is giving an opportunity for the push, but the Dragon Blade on the nano boost, trying to get some massive value, taking down the Immortality Field, as it will be Paradox to go next, looking for the tank, the follow, the deflect, not going to reflect that Fire Strike as a reset begins. Super holding on to the Dragon Strike, though, getting a lot of Storm Arrow damage. You don't want to see the commitment to that just yet, because Pioneers want to carry it over into this next fight, since the numbers advantage are starting to favor Nuclear.
Nuclear coming back to this fight, but now that we see Mayo back in the mix here, remember, you can't deflect those hammer swings. So even though Nuclear was so close to taking back this point, Pioneers are going to maintain control. How they're going to do that moving forward is going to be this Dragaton combination. You've got the Dragon Strike coming up from Super, as well as this Zarya Graviton from Xin. And in case things get tough, you still have that sound barrier Wheezy's been holding on to. But I gotta point out that Narcissist did a great job with the sound barrier on that last team fight to utilize it against this nano boosted Dragon Blade. So now that's not something they have to worry about till the next fight. Narcissist can rest easy.
Graviton in the center. You see the Cryo Freeze being forced to the Dragon Strike. And again, the Immortality Field there as we see Dr. Drago getting another kill with the Death Blossom. Evading that ultimate, but the Dragon Blade coming out again. Can it gain just as much value as we've seen time and time again? But no, it's going to be Narcissist able to get that kill with the boop, pushing it over and changing the point.
I'm sad. I really would have loved to see Nelse save that blade for taking back the point from Richardson High School Nuclear's control. Now, the Nuclear has so much agency. They've got the Supercharger again. They also have the Earth Shatter, and there's definitely going to be some Reinhardt mind games as Mayo has the Earth Shatter coming up online for Pioneers as well. But the biggest difference, the biggest key that I'm seeing here is Narcissist is free to utilize this sound barrier for something other than that Dragon Strike that we were looking at coming out from that Genji.
Boosted damage, hiding it behind the pillar. Nice job by Paradox to ensure that you see Pioneers not able to break it down, but a now counter shatter, knocking down 4 members after the Zarya is brought to their knees, but the sound barrier in return coming out by Narcissist, giving some great assistance. Dakwall still holding on to the Blizzard. Not clustered enough, but finally will use it, hoping to lock down Mayo in the center. Manages to do so, but the healer's pumping enough healing. Just gonna come up shy as Norris gets the kill, resetting the team of Pioneers and still continuing to climb in percentage.
Climbing in percentage, still looking at 2 team fights though. Dr. Drago now has this Death Blossom online once again, and because we're not seeing Mayo with the Earth Shatter because it was a whiff and a miss that last team fight, Dr. Drago is free to use his Death Blossom as more of an offensive tool rather than a defensive tool, which is what they've been saving those Death Blossoms for. Imagine a Death Blossom in an amplification matrix, how deadly that's going to be for Pioneers moving in, and they don't have the sound barrier to stop this one or that Immortality Field.
Dakwall getting a freeze close to Xin, not going to get the lockdown. That barrier is active and ready, mitigating the damage to increase the push potential, but Pioneers patiently playing that high ground, finding an opportunity to get a pick and managing to get it. Super will take down 1. 6 versus 5, collapsing on the point. There's the amplification matrix as it's going to be a huge turnaround, but Dr. Drago looking to try and do some damage of their own. Can't seem to get the kills necessary as it's going to be switched over at the 99% into the overtime by Pioneers.
Oh, and now Nuclear's to come out with the stall picks, Paradox and the Wrecking Ball now just to be able to touch this point. Narcissist is also going to be able to do so, and they do proc the overtime. They get the job done that they wanted to.
Looking to collapse down Skyper, waiting for a charge opportunity as those barriers are about to fall. The Immortality far forward, a little bit too aggressive, but the Dragon Blade coming out with a nano boost again to secure this as the Graviton gonna be forced. Sound barrier used beautifully by the side of Nuclear, but there is far too much damage that supersedes the barrier as now Pioneers claims this map of Busan.
What a way to start it off, though. We basically went 99 to 100 for the first map, 3 rounds of Busan. And Rich Rad, I'm hype. I'm so excited about what's coming up next for this series.
We've not seen much of a Genji highlight, but I'm looking forward to seeing it right here. It's been some time. And it's exciting to see it. And like you said, there is going to be much more Overwatch with these 2 teams being so close in competitive gameplay. And as we've said before, it is 1st to 4 for this one. So map 1 going to Pioneers. The second map is going to be an Assault selected by Nuclear. So we will give them just a few moments to see what this next course of action is and how they're going to use this next map to their advantage. And we'll be back in just a moment. As we are now going to Paris. Necra, it's such a lovely place.
Is it? Is it, though?
I know.
I hate seeing this in my comp games.
I mean, with the dynamic of the Bastion and the choke point on this initial point, I know that it can be quite just devastating and belittling to know that we're going into it. But, again, still a good map and a selection here by Nuclear to see if they can play to their strengths.
Well, with the new patch, I guess there's one reason why I'm excited to be going to Paris, and that actually has to do with a specific hero that maybe, just maybe, we'll see on this defense. And it's going to be that Torbjorn. Torbjorn did just get a buff with the overload mechanic that it has access to, which just dishes out so much damage. But actually, not going to see a Torbjorn, but we will see something very similar.
The Bastion. It never fails. And it's one of those things that even with a shield reduction, I still feel it can be relevant, especially on maps like these. Even though with I mean, again, we're talking about over 700 plus HP dropped for these barriers. So there is a lot going into this. And that's why I think we see a lot more of the Hanzo. That Storm Arrow can be so much more effective, which we've seen Super been utilizing. Also, with just that ability to remove those, a lot of Shuriken damage can come out for the Shimada brother duo. There's a lot of changes. And as it continues to go through this patch, we're going to see a lot of escalation in comms.
You're absolutely right about that. Storm arrows, especially if you have like a Mercy involved with the damage boost or even like an Everest supercharger, can do a lot, but that's not anything that Pioneers is running. Milkbits is on the Ana once again, but something even maybe more potent than the damage boost is those bio grenades that you can see Nelsay and Super take such advantage of when they land onto the enemy team of Nuclear. So it just makes it so much easier for Genji to make those quick cleanup kills.
Barrier broken early on the Ryan, really trying to use those obstacles such as the bus and this car on the inner wall to prevent the incoming damage by the Bastion. The rotation is critical here. An early pick coming out by Skyper, taking down one, but now evening the score. You see Pioneers just hyper-focusing on the control point, using those environmental walls on this inner side to really block a lot of the incoming damage, at least gaining one tick almost the second. And even with Nuclear cleaning up this point, a tick is still a significant amount of value for this first push.
It really is. I mean, almost to so close. Oh, but I don't know. This defense is still holding strong, but the respawns are a little bit closer for the attack now. The attack might start to overwhelm when reinforcements come in.
One of the biggest things is Mayo going to find some value. The healing by the backline, and now Wheezy getting the double boop off the edge. The consistent pressure actually working in milk bits on the high ground, fueling the healing to that Reinhardt for Mayo, allowed them to gain so much more point presence than probably should have been allowed.
And the best part about that push for them is that they got rewarded with their potent combination of the nano-boosted Dragon Blade. There's no defensive support ultimate here for Richardson High School Nuclear. They don't even have the Death Blossom up, which is a strategy that they've used as a saving grace. So how are they going to approach this point? Going to be landing a bio grenade onto the enemy team behind those shields and then using that nano blade.
Reinhardt still trying to mitigate the incoming damage, turning this pillar. Ultimate stacked up on both sides here with 5 minutes to work with. The Genji high overhead with a Dragon Blade nano boost. Consistent pressure once again. The coordination on the side of Pioneers really revolving around this Dragon Blade is absolutely stellar to watch. With a quick pick on the high ground, 2 ticks looking for the third, wanting to have a massive time bank, and will do so at just over 4.5 minutes.
4.5 minutes is so much time. That might actually be a full 2-point caps if we go into extra innings. But this is still a winnable situation. I think extra innings are definitely in our future. But I think the Farmington High School Pioneers, they're just going to go with a similar strategy to what they have been. So as long as Richardson High School Nuclear can get some ultimates online and start to overwhelm with just the ultimate pressure, they'll be able to work through this first point and work through the second.
And with the Bastion composition that we've seen on the defensive side, I wouldn't be so surprised to see Pioneers adopt the same type of play. But with how Super has been on this Hanzo with the Storm Arrows, just being able to break down these shields, I could see them stick with it. I could see them sticking with this Shimada brother combination. But as we take a look now that they've selected it, we're actually going to see some Reaper play coming out versus the Genji. And this is actually not so surprising now that I start to think about it.
It's better for second point. I think that sometimes when you use a Bastion, you're doubling down on hoping that you can make decent progress, but like the rotations have to be really clean, and you can't have anything that's going to deflect that damage or soak up that damage, which is what this composition from Farmington High School Pioneers does so well. But using it on the attack, now that's a different strategy. It's gotta be played a little bit slower, but I would love to see this come out from Richardson High School Nuclear, especially with this double shield.
I'm more looking now to see with this Bastion play on the attack how Nuclear Eagles is really going to try and maneuver around this choke point.
Gotta do it carefully. There are 2 shields, so you put down the Orisa shield, you make sure everybody can get in, and then you set up the Reinhardt shield right there so that your Bastion can pepper in some damage. But I'm not sure what's happening at the moment.
A lot of damage being mitigated. You still see the high ground dominated by Super, whittling away at Dakwall here on the inside where that Bastion play is. Can't find a good position to situate that tank potential kill if it does get generated. Bionade gonna land in the back. Firestrike really just holding the side of Nuclear in this corner, and just dominant play by Pioneers rotating around this upper side. You see Nuclear just trying to find an opportunity. This Reaper play on the low ground, Dr. Drago can't get any value. The pulls are consistent, but no real follow-up.
Ooh, well now the Reinhardt barrier is down, so the shield that was protecting so much of the team of Pioneers is offline. They don't have a Mercy either, so now it's completely out of the mix. This is exactly the chance that Nuclear was looking for to get to point.
Now Zin on the front going to hop down to try and give some coverage, maybe get enough damage onto that. Bastion will work with the Dragon Strike tanking down Paradox. And a final turnaround occurs, preventing Nuclear from getting this first tick, and that is just devastating to see.
Only 1 tick. Oh, not even a tick, actually. You're right about that. That is super devastating. But there were no ultimates utilized by Richardson High School Nuclear. They can make their rotations, and again, they just, have to play it really safe here. And if they can land these ultimates, especially that configuration tank mode coming out from Bastion, that's 1-shot kills right there, especially with the Mercy damage boost.
Mayo waiting for that Earth Shatter opportunity to asleep onto the Bastion. Nice early pick. It looks like there might just be a call for a pause here, though, before the engage occurs, but we'll have to wait. As we've said before, pauses can only occur outside of a fight's organization with 1 minute and 50 seconds to go. Nuclear going to have to fall back as the Pioneer maintain the high ground position with a nano boost active, but Super still looking to clean up with that decent amount of boosted damage. Dakwall going to go down, and a reset here will occur.
Yeah, a reset, especially because of the pause that needs to happen, which is going to come out from the side of Richardson High School Nuclear. So that's really, really unfortunate for that team. I hope they didn't lose anybody that had an ultimate online.
And maintaining the ultimate economy, and they're going to switch now from Norris to the Mercy.
Oh, they do have they're going to keep the Mercy. They've had the Mercy. They used the Valkyrie, unfortunately, with the last push.
Oh, correct.
Yeah, so they had the Valkyrie online. They don't have it now, but they still have double tank ultimates as well as the double DPS ultimates here. They still have to play it slow, though. I expect this to be potentially the last push based on how slowly they have to make this.
Immortality field, though, almost able to hold it. The Death Blossom going to counter. Dr. Drago can't get as much value. But again, the synergy between those 2 ultimates have really allowed an entire team kill. But because those ultimates have been expended, an opportunity opens up for Nuclear to really re-engage this.
All right, now we're seeing Norris switch over to something different, and it's going to be that Brigitte. Now, Brigitte is particularly potent in this scenario because Nalse has that Death Blossom online, and if Nuclear has been tracking these ultimates, they're probably expecting it, and they know that this Brigitte stun, or bash, the shield bash, can actually shut down some of those ultimates.
20 seconds to go. Nice positioning by the support play in the back for Farmington to make sure that they are not overrun. The Earth Shatter going to be blocked. Both shields are there. The Immortality Field and the Amplification Matrix play that super slim corner. And the Death Blossom now coming in overhand, managing to gain 2. A Bionade to land as it is going to be a cleanup with a quad kill here for the Reaper play. And that will be Pioneers taking this second map first to 4.
Second map, a little bit more convincing than the first, but that sometimes just has to be with how assault maps work. Those spawns are so far away from the point that you're trying to capture, and there's a lot of setup that takes place here. I think that we're seeing that Farmington High School Pioneers is one of those teams that appreciates the ability to set up. So, we'll see We'll absolutely see moving into the next couple of maps in the series whether or not that setup really does pay off. If they want to have Skyper run the Reinhardt, and if they want to keep the Reinhardt for Farmington High School Pioneers as well. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing these two particular Reinhardt players of Skyper and Mayo battle it out respectively. But we still have 20 seconds to see whether or not that's actually going to be the case.
And for Pioneers on the attack, I am for sure looking to see this Reinhardt Zarya play with the Genji. It's just such a really well-oiled machine between the two tanks right now, rotating those barriers, making sure to give space for the Reinhardt play on Mayo to just open up opportunity to get that consistent damage. And really using Wheezy's movement speed has been really accelerating that type of gameplay for them. So it's one of those things that Nuclear is really going to have to manage. And having Dak Wall on this Mei could really be the opportunity, again, dividing the team with that Mei wall.
Dividing the Mei wall, and then you also not only have the Mei wall, but you also have this Reinhardt shield, which look at Skyper holding it already. It just covers those chokeholds so well. So there's multiple different ways that Dakwall and Skyper can help to protect the team.
Now, as you have the few seconds remaining, we do see that it will be that consistent composition that Pioneers have been playing. As the doors open up, they're going to look to this choke point, and I'm almost looking to see that Genji's going to have a good flanking position and seeing Super on the high ground here.
Super on the high ground. Oh, Dr. Drago gets slept.
Nice sleep in the corner. Can you see the exploitation of that as Pioneers move in, go to the outer side of the statue? 3 minutes and 40 seconds. The Reinhardt just consistently swinging that hammer forward by Mayo, but does go down by Paradox. Still advantage for Pioneers. That immortality field being brought down. No sustainability for the side of Nuclear to keep this point presence and overrun immediately after that Reinhardt tank has been picked off.
Well, they're still throwing themselves at the point, though, so Nuclear is at least buying some time off of the clock here. Even Narcissist is coming back just to see how much they can stall. But now Super is at the window, making sure nobody else is going to be able to come back and touch.
And that Genji already having the Dragon Blade is really critical for the side of Pioneers to use that momentum forward. That was such a lightning fast generation of an ultimate, and no ultimates barely halfway here for Nuclear.
Yeah, Milk Bits, though, doesn't have the nano boost online quite yet, so I don't think that Farmington High School Pioneers is going to utilize this Dragon Blade until that comes online, but still, no defensive ultimate online for Richardson Nuclear, so this momentum that's been generated from that first point capture for Pioneers is going to continue through the second phase.
Nano Blade on the front side with an early barrier coming out from Zin on the back. Just consistent assault with that blade, gaining the quad. And now 5 minutes continue pushing forward just around this bookstore.
Just around the bookstore, just around these classic choke points here, and at least there's going to be a second chance to contest, but the Sonic Arrow from Super is giving so much agency to Farmington High School Pioneers right now, where they know exactly where Nuclear is coming from and where they're going to meet them at the middle. But this cart has rolled so far forward, and the respawns are so far away on the defensive side of Kings Row that they really only have one last chance to contest. They gotta use this Graviton right now.
Mayo on the front looking to find a window of opportunity for that Earth Shatter. Does get blocked, though, by Skyper. Only one member going to get hit in the back. Returned immediately as the Graviton comes out, but Dragon Strike causing a lot of force to push this team of Nuclear back. The Blizzard being held onto. Hasn't dropped just yet. Looking for an opportunity to get a cluster of members, but because of that nice attention by Super to take down the Mei, it allows the push forward by Pioneers to move into this last and final stretch.
Oh, Dr. Drago just has to run away and get staggered a little bit here. Farmington High School Pioneers gets a chance to be so aggressive with their attack phase that this is really going to be the last contest that Richardson High School Nuclear has in order to set up. But as it stands, they're taking so much damage coming in from the long reach here, from the shurikens coming out, from Nelsay, and there's another Nano Blade online. No answer on the side of Nuclear, still.
Few meters left to go. This turning point is a difficult place to maneuver through. There are those doorways to the left that allow Nuclear to have some advantage, especially with this Blizzard available. The amplification matrix going to be generated along with Dr. Drago, but leading in now the Dragon Blade. Can the damage be stopped on the side of Nuclear? But no, consistent pressure. If it is not going to be the Dragon Blade, the arrows in the backline from Super will secure the kills.
will secure the kills, and now the Staggers have to come out here. But Richardson High School Nuclear, if they can get out line as a team of 6, then they might have the ability to utilize this Graviton. But look at the Earth Shatter happening at spawn!
Dead Blossom managing to gain 2, an opportunity as it's under 5 meters to go. Dackwall getting the chance now with oh, the Graviton's gonna pull them together to get the kill. The Dragon Strike ensuring that this push might continue, but the respawn advantage, and like you said, just that consistent regroup capability with Skyper now having that Earth Shatter of their own can hold this payload and prevent it from completion.
There's still 4 minutes left on the clock, though, for Pioneers. It's not over yet, but the hope is still alive for Richardson High School Nuclear to keep them from capturing this 3rd point of Kings Row. Skyper has the Earth Shatter online, and as long as they can get this barrier down from Mayo, that's going to hit, and it's going to be big. They also have the Amplification Matrix to utilize to zone all of the members of Pioneer away from this cart. But it's a bit of a standoff before anyone makes the first move.
Immortality Field going down. That's going to give the green light here for Pioneers to jump in. Overwhelming numbers. That Lucio movement speed on the outer wall, getting the double kill early, 6 versus 4, but the respawn advantage, like I said, still in favor of Nuclear. The Dragon Blade again. Sound Barrier going to be used by Narcissus to give a chance of survival, but so much damage just still shredding away. Dual Earth Shatters knocking down multiple members on both sides, with Super holding on to this Dragon Strike to ensure that no more members can touch this payload. Ultimate's going back and forth here between the two to see if they can complete it, Necro.
They're gonna try their best. They've got the sound barrier as well, so lots of sustain here, but there is also the nano boost. Zin is such a powerful foe right now, just melting people that try to touch this card. Skyper coming back though on the wrecking ball to be able to stall, but Dacwall's wall gets in the way.
Now the spin to win, the last ditch effort. This is truly the last option, and a difficult time really getting the kill, allowing Dr. Drago to get back onto the point. Dashing in, consistent pressure, getting that extra kill on the outside. The Winston play with the barrier on the front side, managing to mitigate some of the incoming damage. The Tesla Cannon will allow a lot of early generation of an ultimate, but cannot seem to get the picks necessary as the completion occurs with round 1 finish with 2 minutes and 9 seconds.
I'm so impressed by the stall that came out from Richardson High School Nuclear, though. 2 minutes got shaved off the clock there, and that's almost unheard of in the game of Kings Row.
Now that it's switched around, I'm curious to see the defensive position by Pioneers. We'll probably have that Hanzo Genji again, and I think it's going to be important to see how this Genji play utilizes the hotel for an opportunity for a pick in the back line, and how Super is going to really manage that defensive position as well, getting those Storm Arrows to break the shields or find a potential pick in the back line on the supports.
This is definitely Nelsey's territory. When we see Farmington High School Pioneers come out of the gates with their defensive composition, we'll be able to talk a little bit more about kind of how they want to utilize this strategy. But, I apologize, Rich. You were right. It's actually going to be Super playing that Hanzo, and guess what? Nelson's actually going to be joining them with a little bit of that backline pressure there with the McCree. Definitely a lot of flank opportunity here.
Especially with the crown control coming out by the flashbang, really isolating an individual character to get that Fan the Hammer, making sure to clean up. Also just the damage. Again, we talk about it multiple times because the barrier health has been reduced. So that Fan the Hammer, Tumble, Fan the Hammer can expend so much damage between the two of Super and Nelsey. It's going to be interesting to see how Nuclear replies to this, since we've not seen the McCree just yet.
Not seen the McCree. We saw a little bit of the McCree, I believe, on Paris or Busan. One of the two earlier maps there. I actually think it was Busan. We did see the McCree coming out from there, but no high noon, no real pressure with the flashbang there. So I think we're gonna have to see Nelsey play this one just a little bit differently. But this McCree is such a good choice. I think they spotted out that Dockwall was gonna go onto this Pharah.
And really reading the environment well, you see Paradox early pick onto Super, shutting down some of that explosive damage onto the barriers that are a necessity to bring down. Charge in the back coming out, can't seem to get any value by Mayo, and a return charge getting the kill by Skyper. A whole new revamped composition with Dackwall raining so much harass from the high ground, rerouting and forcing Pioneers to respond to that. And instead of taking the full attention to the ground game, they've split it, and I think that's really allowed Nuclear to do some work.
This really has allowed Nuclear to do some work, and I'm actually really impressed with the level of support play we're seeing from Narcissist and Norris because there's no mercy on the side of Nuclear, and usually when you see a Pharah, there's a mercy to boot because of how powerful that Guardian Angel can be. But it means that Norris is hitting those shots, and they already have the Amplification Matrix in record speeds here. So with this cart opening up, they're probably going to send Narcissist to just kind of sit on cart there and make sure that Norris can get in some of that shot damage. But Milk Bits!
That
Nelson!
McCree, yeah, that McCree aggression on the high ground after the sleeve dart had come out really gave an opportunity for that backline. And here comes the multi-kill. We've seen some serious Genji play, and the Cowboy definitely
Nelson.
can show the worth as well.
Oh my goodness. Did you see? You talked about the flank. We said Super was going to be the one to show them what the flank means, but it was actually Nelson, and now the cart is stopped where this is such a dangerous position for Nuclear. They're going to be taking all this long-range incoming damage from that Hanzo and the McCree.
Yeah, the even harder part of this is you have a clear, clean sight line for Milk Bits in the back on that high ground to fuel the healing and have no pressure.
No pressure at all. Mayo has so much agency here with this Reinhardt play, but it's gonna be this Graviton. Let's see how much they can do on
The
Nuclear.
return damage. Flashbang coming out early onto Narcissist, focusing that bird in the sky, manages to get the double. Consistent applied pressure by Mayo as the nano boost comes out. Might not be going to the McCree or Genji this time, but it sure as heck can go to that golden axed man on the front side as 4 minutes remain.
Wheezy saved Mayo's butt right there with the sound barrier, and now Mayo stayed alive long enough to work up to this Earth Shatter, really outpacing Skyper right now, about 2-to-1 ratio. Dakwall, though, hasn't switched off the Sparrow just yet, has the Barra Barrage, and there's not really a way to deal with it if we don't see the shield of Mayo stay up for too much longer, and here it comes!
Oh, but will be brought down immediately in the open. Wasn't enough aggression on the front side to draw the attention away as the Dragon Strike and the High Noon in conjunction, getting a lot of value pushing forward. Mayo resetting around the corner with all ultimates expended for the side of Pioneers. That could be a chance now for Dr. Drago to clean up, getting 3. But there are not too many other members here to follow up on that ultimate usage. But Paradox, as I say it, says otherwise.
Ooh, Paradox got so much charge from those bubbles used so selflessly in order to save the rest of their team. So rewarded with the team kill bell. Now this cart is finally making some progress, but Farmington High School Pioneers are going to have one last chance to recontest. But they've got to walk into an amplification matrix coming in from Nuclear.
Now, 2 minutes and 45 seconds is still a decent amount of time, but that payload has moved very quickly to this position. And Graviton on the front now coming out by Paradox as the Earth Shatter is going to be combined just around the corner. Double kill early, cleaning up now with the rockets overhead, as this checkpoint will easily be secured with now 4 minutes to the next.
4 minutes to the next, but can they make the time? Can they make the time? You still have to capture all 3 points here, and I think that Nuclear can do it. They've got the sound barrier, don't have too much else. They really need to be able to work through the nano boost that Farmington Pioneers is going to utilize in this next fight. That nano boost could be such a life-saving ultimate for one member of the team. Milk Bits has gonna have some trouble choosing a target for this one, but I feel like the right choice here is gonna be Mayo so that we can get this Earth Shatter up and running.
Patient play through this turning point. Narcissist wanting to lead in with this sound barrier. Rocket Barrage almost available. No picks just yet as the High Noon comes out. Does get the double quick enough. The rockets were immediately focused onto Dakwall, but could not get it in time. 3 minutes and 15 seconds, forcing the side of Nuclear back, and a reset is definitely going to occur.
Reset has to happen, but what's this? Oh my god, it looks like a back cap. Narcissist is trying so hard.
Under 4 meters, almost able to sneak it right out from under the nose of Pioneers, but a quick regroup, and that shot from the Cowboy can stop the payload.
Oh, that's too funny. I thought they almost had it there, and I was going to be so proud of that, Lucio. But Dakwall sticking to this Farah wants to work up to that Rocket Barrage once again, and this time have it be more useful than the last. But still, as Nuclear is moving in, look at how many tools and resources they have to use. They already have to use the Immortality Field, and they're taking so much damage.
Earth Shatter blocked. Great early ultimate blocking by the side of Nuclear with the coverage. Graviton going to be forced as the damage there. The charge going to be ceased on the front side as the Rocket Barrage comes out in the combination, gaining the 2, but Super wanted to counter back. Ultimates unloaded on the team of Pioneers, and this just might be enough of a gap for Nuclear to push this payload, and if anything, that Graviton ensured that no one was leaving it to complete it.
1 second difference between these two teams' time banks.
Oh,
1 second.
man.
208 versus 209.
It's going to go down to the wire here between the two of them, and they've both demonstrated the wheelhouse that they have in their character pool. It was really nice to see that far play coming out, but also the great read by Pioneers to think we might just see a Pharah here. Let's play the McCree.
That worked out in their favor too, because the High Noons were strong. They were really spectacular here coming out from Nelsay. But I don't think we're going to see that this time. I think when we're looking at Farmington High School Pioneers strategy, I think they're going to stick with something that they understand is going to work. Like Dakwall might not go with the same type of hero that they did before, but I do worry a little bit with Richardson High School Nuclear going first because they get a chance to set the goalpost. And because their respawns are closer, they have so much more ability to change up their strategy and adjust and adapt to what Farmington High School Pioneers is running on their defense.
It's going to be that McCree once again. Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it worked really well. Though, because of the compositional switch, it's actually going to be interesting. A lot of hover here coming out by Dakwall to really choose what kind of combination they would like. Hanzo Spectral Arrow going to come out first. Might not keep the character just for early vision, as we see it typically with the Sombra. We also do see it with some Symmetra play as well for some early positioning. But they will keep it. Side of Nuclear going to keep that Hanzo play for the Storm Arrow to try and break the shield on the front side. Immortality Field early dropped to make sure that no damage is going to bring this team down, but Nelston hyper-focusing, going to get that kill with the Immortality Field out. It gives the chance to get a flank here, and that's what we talked about. This Cowboy getting so much value on that McCree, doing a great work with it, and still really managing around this statue.
Managing around the statue, I think Norris utilizing that Immortality Field early is going to stop the momentum right now from Nuclear, and they got to wait for those cooldowns to come back online before they can move in.
Dakwall looking for a side position through the hotel. Not going to be able to get much value since there's a lot of pressure by the Reinhardt. The Lucio getting some displacement. Nice pick early, taking out Drago to reset the team by Nuclear. Unable to push forward because they need a solid 6 here.
They really do need a solid 6, so they gotta wait. But wow, they might not have a solid 6 because there's gonna be this in high noon here. It's high noon somewhere.
Pick in the back. Shield does go down. Cannot prevent it because of that timing and positioning open in the sightlines for the High Noon. 50 seconds to go, and this is going to be last fight territory.
Last fight territory, but now this is where we see ultimates start to get used here. Farmington High School drew the blade first with the Earth Shatter as well as the High Noon on that last push, but we've got a lot of combinations online, and it's really going to be about who sets the pace with their ultimates for this next push.
Dakwall wants to get a good opportunity for that Dragon Strike, leading through potentially the Amplification Matrix. There's the Dragon Strike. Can the combination come through? Manages to get a lot of damage in the back line. A little bit separated, but still gains the value onto Wheezy. Only the Ana remains. Pumping out healing on the front side to keep the team of Pioneers alive, but there is so much overrun damage by Nuclear. They are not going to be able to survive for Pioneers and have to regroup, allowing this payload to now start moving through the streets phase.
Richardson High School Nuclear had to use so many ultimates there, but they still have two very offensive, heavy-hitting ultimates left. Skyper with the Earth Shatter, Dr. Drago with the Death Blossom. This is a way that they kind of make the Hail Mary run through this third point, and it's just going to be continuing to set the pace there because they struck first. They hit gold, Rich, and Nuclear got rewarded with this cart.
Rotating ultimates is going to be key, especially through this choke point. And most difficult portion of this is the Earth Shatter comes out, going to be blocked. Mayo with a nano boost on the front side as now the counter comes out. Drago getting the Dragon Strike in the back line, claiming the 3. Now rotating back to contest and clean the last tanks remaining, but Mayo still at least going to get some value. And the longer this payload pushes, the faster that overtime will wick away.
Yeah, but there's still ultimates to use here, Norris, because of how much healing they've been able to output. Just use that amplification matrix, a team fight to go, and they're going to have it again as this card continues to round the corner. Farmington High School has basically one last chance, and they're not really close to anything here, Rich. Norris is going to have this first ultimate up and running, and that extra damage might be enough to put the cherry on top of this cake and make this Hail Mary run.
Shields up and alive for this next engage. Mayo playing hyper aggressive on the front, giving some space by Zin with that barrier. Extra damage going to need to be applied as the amplification matrix now comes out, as I say it, to look to maybe get that kill early. The storm arrow is going to yield a lot of value. Narcissus taking down Mayo and Zin. With the Cowboy unable to do much work, that flashbang can't land enough quickly. And the overtime still commences, and they're going to reach this next checkpoint on the side of Nuclear.
That's what I'm talking about, Rich. This is exactly what I mean by the Hail Mary run. That third point isn't too far away now, and they have the sound barrier to boot. Farmington High School now, if they want to stop this cart, this overtime wick will expire so fast if they're able to get the members of Nuclear off of this cart. But the only tool that they really have to do that with is the Earth Shatter. And is Mayo ready to play these mind games? Skyper just looks like they're such a rare form today.
Early vision by the arrow in the back from Dak with the Dragon Strike combination into the Graviton, looking to gain value, but is going to be mitigated. Only 1-for-1 exchange. Bolt Reinhardt's down. Overtime, running this clock short. You have to see Pioneers push this team of Nuclear back off the point for a fraction of a second. Zin on the front getting overrun, but the barrier is there as the Deadeye comes out to try and clean up, but a return sound barrier as the Dragon Strike comes through. Zin going to get the double. Lots of damage. Forcing Drago off the point is key to keep this overtime from moving any further, and that will be it. The Earth Shatter just too late, and Skyper comes short.
The goalposts are set though, Rich. Just shy of that third point. This is going to have to be another monumental run coming out here, but this time from the side of Pioneers.
I am just absolutely exhilarated to see how far that payload went. I really was thinking, yeah, I mean, it was almost another completion. And for overtime to have started just transitioning into that streets phase to go that many meters is very rare to see. And you have to give a lot of credit here to Nuclear. And again, this is that varsity team, so there is that type of gameplay and style. And Pioneers are really going to have to bolster their morale right now to see if they can reach this extremely far golden box of victory.
That golden box is definitely super far, but if there's a team that can do it, it's going to be Farmington High School with that 2-0 lead already in the series. I have high hopes, though, for Nuclear to get some sort of reverse sweep here, though, even get a map on their name. And I think that going with this strategy that worked so far, which is going to be Knockwall on the Hanzo, which was hitting some impressive headshots, by the way. You also have Dr. Drago on the Reaper, and just this death ball type of composition is so strong, especially on this map where you're fighting in such close quarters. But here's where it gets interesting is, again, the fact that Farmington High School Pioneers is going with this Nano Blade. That's going to be the first combination ult they work up to here, and it's going to have to be the first set of ultimates that they use if they want to have a chance of rolling this card all the way forward.
And the acceleration on the ultimate is quick. 25% early. Nice deflect coming out by Nelsay on the front with that Genji. Really trying to rotate around this hotel. Immortality field out early as well, allowing Mayo to push forward. Great sleep in addition, trying to get some barrier coverage to force Skyper back on this Reinhardt, looking to slowly but surely take this point tick by tick. And now the barrier broken by Skyper doesn't have any sort of protection, relying solely on the Zarya. The pin getting come in the back, managing to get it almost taken down as Dakwall takes the first life, though. Wheezy no longer available, and the second coming down. Bolt supports out of the fight, rushing onto this point now to push Pioneers back.
Pushing Pioneers back, but reinforcements are coming in now for the side of Farmington High School, but smartly and surely, even though they were rewarded with one tick, that's still progress. They're gonna group up as a team of 6 and see if they can go at it again. This time they have that powerful ultimate combination, that Nano Blade. Gonna be looking out for that going into this next fight with a minute left on the clock.
You see Zin almost having the Graviton. Every ultimate is going to try and be committed to this. Graviton now going to come out. No ability to get out of it. The deflect there. The Dragon Blade going to come through the center. Countering with supers of their own. 40 seconds. Ultimates expended. Pioneers have a really good chance with this Nano Blade, but it's got to be big.
It's got to be big, and Narcissus has been saving this sound barrier, knowing that this is the ultimate combination that is giving Nuclear so much trouble. There's 30 seconds left of the clock. Time is expiring quickly. Farmington High School is going to have to get something done here, and it's going to be using this Nano Blade very early on to see if they can get those picks.
Dash to the sky happening now. Dragon Blade to come out with a nano boost on the front side, but will not be able to make it just in time. It's actually going to go on to... Actually, we'll go to the Genji. Didn't see it in time as it will be a quick cleanup and swift take but so much committed to it. And actually, both Zin and Weezer will hold on to their ultimates to push forward.
That's good. Weezy's gonna need to hold on to that one because Paradox and Dakwall are building up to that Dragaton once again. I would have loved to see Super hold on to that Dragon Strike, and now you can see why, because Zin is ready with the Graviton, and Super is not for Pioneers. Moving this card forward, they're just going to have to rely on Mayo getting a chance to big ball of heroes that Zin's gonna set up for them with this Graviton and swinging away.
Pushing through the choke point, Death Blossom gonna come out by Drago in the back! We saw it on the attack, and now we see it on the defense. The Immortality Field to survive through the Graviton. This is going to be it. Nuclear manages to reform on the defensive side and hold Pioneers from claiming King's Row.
Reverse sweep incoming? Maybe?
Maybe?
I mean, that's how you keep things interesting, right? But Richardson High School showed so much better when they didn't really have to set up as much. This was just them continuing through with momentum, much like you saw on those control points. So now that we've seen a map with a movable payload, and we're going to be going over to an escort map next, Nuclear might have the next map in the bag also. This was such a close one.
And it's those types of things that we're going to see if, again, we start to look at, break down, and analyze how relevant it will be. And again, for this next map.
Getting set up on payload with that Reinhardt as his sail.
Nelse going to go to that tried and true Genji play that we've seen consistently and just moving this payload very slowly, watching that underpass. A nice early kill, though, coming out on Dakwall, allowing that momentum to still move forward. Lots of ultimate generation here by Mayo on the front side, giving so much room, 50% generated already, and just keeping already this halfway checkpoint with no real engage, a hard engage at all just yet.
No hard engagement, but there's just so much space that Nuclear is giving up right now. They're waiting for an opportunity, but I'm not quite sure what it is.
Skyper looks for the pin in the back, finally getting an opportunity to force this team back with the Bionade lands, causing a lot of problems here. Milk Blitz doing a great job to give that assistance, allowing the damage to just supersede any sort of defensive abilities by Nuclear, and reaching this payload next checkpoint is happening quite swiftly for the side of Pioneers.
Maybe you don't need the Bastion.
No.
Maybe you're just doing some good damage here with Super as well as Nelse, and we know what happens next, Rich.
I mean, with this payload being pushed the way that it has been, it's almost as if both teams are giving too much respect, and then the range advantage here with Super breaking down the shields versus Dakwall has just allowed the team to continue pressing forward.
Really has continued the press forward, and I mean a lot of it has to do with just how much space this Genji's getting.
Oh, and the pin in the back in the midst of it all. It won't be Nelse getting the advancement, but the Earth Shatter gaining 2 to follow up. That was a great response though by Nuclear to shut down that Dragon Blade, which has been a consistent problem for them.
Didn't have to use a sound barrier either. I think they recognized Narcissist wasn't totally ready for it yet, but now they can use the sound barrier to get a little bit aggressive and take back control of this defense.
Keeping close to that payload. Again, this underpass being very difficult. Milk Bits on the tie ground, just playing a really stellar Ana positioning play to fuel this team. Nobody being able to stop that. The Sleep Dart's also gaining a lot of value as the Earth Shatter tries to counter, but the Dragon Strike is there. Immortality Field no longer available. Going to be a quad with Super gaining the 5th. And Mayo executing for an entire team kill.
Team kill. Bionade right on top is just the icing on the cake here. And Mayo going to have another Earth Shatter. So if you were worried about there being some sort of response here from Pioneers, worry no more, because Mayo can continue this attack forward, for Pioneers. But what I'm worried about at the moment is that Dakwall on the side of Nuclear could dish back a little bit of that own medicine that we saw Pioneers dish out just moments before, and that's going to be that Dragon Strike online.
Drago looking for a flank as this door is still open. The sleep going to be mitigated. Immortality Field opportunity for now Nuclear to press forward, but this Biotic Main just getting so much value. Once again, forcing the team to play a little bit more reserved to respawn to that reduction in healing. Numbers starting to now add up for ultimates for Nuclear as they have about 6 to work with.
6 ultimates is so much, and that means that Nuclear has kind of their pick of the litter in terms of what they want to use when. So Skyper now maybe doesn't necessarily have the Earth Shatter yet, but you can rotate through the Dragon strike graviton combo that we were talking about just being such a useful combo here. I think that's what they're going to use here.
Can it gain enough value? Coming through the sidewall, actually, from the respawn position. Death Blossom committed as well. I mean, I don't think the Death Blossom was necessary, but it's still going to yield a lot of value here. And after getting the triple, it was just more of an insurance policy to make sure they can hold Pioneers back.
Good one for the highlight reel. Maybe not so much for this specific scenario, but they still have the amplification matrix, which, depending on where Pioneers decides to go through, guess where Norris is going to be setting that up? Right exactly where they drop.
3 minutes and 45 seconds, still a lot of time to work with. Dragon Blade Barrier and Nano in the back. So many coordinated gameplays. Are anybody going to be able to get in sightline of it, though? The dash was a little bit too committed to the Hanzo in the backside. It will still end up getting maximum value with everyone else's gameplay. There's the cleanup. And 3 minutes and 25 seconds to work with to round this objective.
That Dragon Blade, good enough distraction to allow Mayo to go into the back line and get that massive, the massive swings of the hammer here. But Skyper tried to go for the Earth Shatter, but we saw Milkbits was ready once again with the Bionade. Couldn't heal through that one.
Milkbits getting a great kill early on to Narcissus. We've got now the amplification matrix available on the defensive position, trying to just accelerate that ultimate charge. And you see Drago on the low ground. Into that back line, and honestly, Milkbit's still on the high ground, managing to have so much aggression. Nobody really focusing that on a play, which could be very advantageous for the side of Nuclear, but can't seem to get much value because the pressure is still applied by Pioneers, pushing this payload towards the end. The respawn advantage in favor of Nuclear, but cannot seem to do too much. That Graviton going to be forced out to try and at least gain the advantage for damage, as Dakwall has to throw the Dragon Strike under 4 meters to work with, but it's still running dry here for the side of Nuclear.
It's been running a little bit dry, especially because they're going to get caught between the Dragon Strike and the Graviton, and the Dragon Blade just on top is just extra damage. Pioneers now completing this round 1, all 3 points with 2 minutes left on the clock here. Very similar time bank to what they finished King's Row with.
And with the switch, I kind of want to see the Bastion. I kind of want to see it. I mean, I think Nuclear would be more of the team to do it, but I mean, we can only wait and see. Pioneers, though, in the grand scale of things, I can't imagine their communication through their headsets. They're really on point, especially with that consistent combination with the Zarya Nano Boost and the Genji Blade. And again, this is something that we don't typically see. We've been stuck in the double shield meta for so long, and it's whether or not they've been waiting to see this happen, or they've just always had this great communication with one another to flourish with that coordinated gameplay. It's really a great sight to see.
It is a great sight to see. I want to see a little bit of that hero flexibility as well, but sad for you, Rich, and sad for me. We're not going to see that Bastion that Nelse was hovering over just a little bit ago. So it's going to be the tried and true coming out from Farmington High School Pioneers once again. And this time, though, we're seeing maybe an adjustment coming out from Nuclear. I would love to see Dakwall play some more Pharah.
I agree. I think it was a really great addition to their gameplay style. Looks like almost the entire team of Nuclear is disconnected. For sure going to have a pause on that one. Could be a local server issue. But we're going to just give them a brief moment to see what that is. We will for sure be going on a break since there is a massive drop of team members. So we'll be back in just a moment so that we get the full information on this concern at the moment. For this attacking side, not allowing Pioneers to take this victory by ease. With a few seconds to go, and we did see that Dakwall is going on the far and is looking to stick with it since there's no real major harass with a hard hit scan, only the projectile from Super on this Hanzo.
Projectile from both DPS characters now from Pioneers, but the really scary thing about Dakwall's Pharah is that Narcissist is on the Mercy. So there's so much more agency. Dakwall can really get aggressive here with these rockets, especially if they're directs like that.
And we were talking about it too last time. We had Milkbits so well positioned to the backside, free to deal as much healing and sleep darts as possible. But because of that high ground advantage by Dakwall, it's going to allow a lot more aggression on that Ana play and really suffering with the healing output.
These rockets are so potent right now from Dakwall, and Narcissist doesn't even have to damage boost. Dakwall's just getting complete directs one after another, and it means now 50% towards a Pharah barrage, and this cart is just rolling right now for Nuclear.
and the McCree has to come out. You see
Yeah.
the instant change. There's no other option for this team of Pioneer to really do anything about it. Has to force it out. Great Bionade to land on the front. Again, Blitz still on the backside, managing to get a lot of healing, but there's those rockets directly thrown at the Ana, causing a lot of distraction. Great pick by the McCree. Here comes the double, taking both the triple. A quad gonna come out here. Unbelievable. You have to see this just huge opening in the backside be shut down, and finally will.
I think there was something really smart about how Nuclear played that last team fight, though. Their target priority has really been taking out the front line and then worrying about the heavy hitters that are in the back, right? Like Nelse and Super on those DPS heroes. So knowing that that's really the strategy that Farmington High School is going for with that heavy, really offensive front line, smart to take them out. And I bet you we're going to see them do that again because Mayo's ready with it or Shatter.
We have the Dak Wall on the Doomfist. Is there damage to follow up onto the Graviton? Not going to be able to do too much with it. Nice cleanup here by Pioneers after that grab was thrown. And Dak Wall switching onto this Doomfist, like I said, I'm curious to see how that's going to function in this composition, especially going into the hard counter like a McCree.
Paradox to the grab, and then Mayo just said, you know what? You're not going to be able to touch this Graviton. Earth Shatter. And I think that was super effective. Now, Nelse Super, because of the cleanup that they were able to get from the Earth Shatter, just destroying the ability of Nuclear to move forward. They have both DPS ultimates online. High noon now. You can see Nelse's getting ready to set up for it.
You see that recognition from Dakwall as well. You have the Hanzo coming out, no longer going to reside with that Doom, and the now Dragon Strike through the center once again. The combination pulling these members together with Super's Dragon Strike has been very on point. Nelse getting the cleanup to follow as it's 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Some swaps going to come out, and now you have Dakwall again rotating back to the Pharah. It's as if they're not confident on their play for this Pharah, where there has been still a lot of value from it.
There was, but then we didn't even see the Fire Barrage. We saw Dakwall switch off of it before they even used that ultimate. And we're even seeing Dakwall switch over again. It's going to be the Hanzo play once more. And I think that was probably the best hero we've actually seen Dakwall run so far, is going to be that Hanzo. Very, very nice headshots and really good use of the Storm Arrows. But Super getting the better of that 1v1 to start off this next fight.
And Nelse on the high ground, uncontested with Super, both of them dynamically working together on this bridgeway. It's becoming extremely difficult for Nuclear to really contest against this, since there's no ability to get onto that high ground to really flush that 2 DPS dynamic on the high ground away.
I'm just trying to think of what Nuclear can do to break this formidable defense that Pioneers has set up here, and I almost want to see them go with a bit of a dive. Dive here would be able to contest those high grounds that we see Wheezy dancing along right now, and then Nelse and Super just have firm control over, and the Winston Diva would be super strong, particularly with that defensive... Oh, wait, but Dr. Drago!
Managing to get too early, that's the opportunity you see Nuclear need. Triple going to come out cleaning up that bridgeway, being such a difficult position, but finding a flank up the stairway as the focus was on the lower ground of Nuclear gives the chance for those DPS to be outmaneuvered and pushing to this next checkpoint, with Skyper getting the kill on the follow-up.
Never mind, you don't need dive, you just need Dr. Drago.
Yep, need some Doctor and Dragos. Makes me
That's
think that it's a Dr. Dragon. That'd be great.
I agree with that. Just a little bit of fire, a little bit of pep in your step here, but it is going to be the second point captured for Nuclear.
3 minutes and 13, a decent amount of time to work with. Not nearly as much as you saw with Pioneers on the time earlier. And Ultimate's at least in a good position for really both sides. So it's going to be those critical plays, especially how Nelse is going to position this McCree.
I would like to see this McCree a little bit more on the high ground right now for Pioneers, but getting the damage onto Skyper's shield right now is definitely as important. Dr. Drago, though, making good use of the spinner up on the top. But I think this high ground is really where we're going to see teams shine, whether or not they're making use of it or not, but it's high noon.
And I don't really know too much about the positioning. I think that was a little of a lost ultimate. They're trying to get a collapse with the Graviton into the choke point, the Earth Shatter to counter. Beautiful play. And I'm going to say at first I didn't really see why you wanted to use it with that ultimate with the Deadeye as the entire team moves to the choke position, but that Graviton Dragon Strike really demonstrated why that use of ultimate was there.
Dragon Strike, Graviton. not paired together, but they did a good job of splitting the team and the focus of what Pioneers was going after. Now Nuclear has some momentum moving towards this golden rectangle victory, and yeah, even though they're not going to have as much time on the clock here, I actually think they'll be able to bring this one forward. Dr. Drago working up to another Death Blossom, and every single time these have gone off, it's been at least 2 or 3.
Earth Shatter landing it onto 2, getting a counter pin though. Nice pick by Skyper. Bionade landing. You see Dr. Drago and Skyper have to retreat because there is no ability to heal at the current moment as Nelse gets the follow-up and gonna reset the team.
Reset the team. Dr. Drago almost looked like they were trying to be the hero there, but I'm glad that they exercised some patience, held on to that Death Blossom, because now they have a chance to use it now. If we really wanted to see Nuclear try to secure this third point, I mean, this is last fight territory, Rich. They're going to not only have to get here fast, but I think Paradox is going to have to work up to this Graviton.
And Mayo mitigating a lot of damage. Dakwall on the high ground really trying to break those barriers. You see Drago on the front going to get some pressure as well with that barrier forced by Paradox to make sure that there is some extra damage. The High Noon coming out on the backside, trying to find some value. That Immortality field does go down. Really just used to, I believe, force this team back. Didn't get much value on the side, though. Drago looking to take down that Hanzo. Can't seem to get the pick, forcing that Wraith form out to reposition the backside, but this consistent damage by Nelse. Flashbang onto Skyper. Does get the kill. Graviton in return, though. It will be Dakwall and Drago getting some huge advantage on the front side with this Zarya looking to give as much coverage as possible for Nuclear to keep this payload moving. Lucio on the front trying to buy some time. The Wrecking Ball to regroup as the Tracer and Reinhardt come out through the doorway. Even the Doomfist desperation mode as it's under 2 meters. Doomfist picked off. The Ryan gonna be left. Overruns, rerouting that shield as quickly as possible as the Dragon Strike comes through to take down the Tracer, and that is a solid minute remaining.
The last time we were in this scenario where Nuclear had less time in the bank, even though it was a second on King's Row, they had that Hail Mary push.
Really did. And, you know, with a minute doesn't seem like a lot at first. But depending upon how quickly you're able to take that initial fight, regroup, and come back in, and that neutral advantage nearing some ultimates can still be very formidable. A lot of people think that that minute really isn't as much, but it can still do a lot of work for a team.
Can definitely still do a lot of work, especially if you're going to be Richardson High School Nuclear, which knows how to take a minute and turn it into a mile. So
yeah, from King's Row, it's a perfect example.
Exactly. I had to say it at least once.
I mean, you did.
A literal minute, turning it into a mile. Haha.
Yep. We're clever.
Nah, I'm stupid.
No, what are you talking? Stop it!
Okay.
Stop it.
Anyway. Who's not stupid though are these two teams right now. Pioneers understanding that I think their best chance of holding Nuclear off this cart is going to be doubling down on this Pharah play that we will potentially see coming out from Nuclear. But as I said before on King's Row, there's so much agency now that this is really Nuclear setting the goalpost here. The respawns are so close. Dakwall could poke their head out and be like, I see a McCree and I don't want to deal with this, right?
Nope, and that really is very important. The vision is there, but still commits to this. There's the pick, and now the reset happens. You have to have the compositional adjustment where Dakwall is going to maybe rotate, but keeps the Pharah. Doesn't want to waver away from this and gets out quickly. The Mercy play is going to be... Oh, the Res actually comes out to keep it for this 30 seconds. Now, with this turning point, it's going to be very important to try and break down the shield onto Mayo. Now broken on the inner house, away from the team. Amplification Matrix is going to be generated, but Super gets the kill onto Skyper, breaking down that barrier. The pin in the back going to miss, unfortunately, as it will not get the Zarya, but does get the Reaper, forcing it back. Nuclear in a difficult position as Pioneers have managed to stop this payload from moving. 10 seconds to go, and the stalls now come out.
Stalls are coming out here. Wrecking Ball spin to win, but the High Noon is going to keep so many people at bay here. Narcissist and Skyper have to go down so early, and it's going to be on this Moira to touch.
And managing to do so, but again, so much damage being fueled. The Dragon Strike coming through. Nelse getting the triple. No member able to touch it in time, but that Wrecking Ball can at least buy a few more seconds. But since the last few members will be pulled into that Graviton at the doorway, no one will be able to leave.
No one able to leave, no one able to touch. That cart does not have too far to go. Would not surprise me if we saw a Bastion come out on either side, just because it pumps in so much damage and just deletes shields.
Very much. And when you have a shorter distance to cover like this, you can be a little bit more varied in your composition and take those risks. Again, a
Yes.
minute is still a lot of time to work with when it comes to that type of fight that we just had. But when you have 3 minutes and you know that you have such a short distance to cover, 27.6 meters is very short in the grand scale of things. And that Bastion play on the front might just be enough to secure an initial push. And if it fails, you've got at least 2 minutes to work with after you're like, all right, let's trash this, let's throw it aside, let's go back again.
For sure. That's definitely an option, but actually, well, let's talk about the defense first. Dakwall going back over to the May, which we saw them come out on Busan first. And I really like this because guess what? If there is a Bastion, this May wall can soak up so much of that damage before Skyper has to utilize their own shield.
And we can see some of that May play being really critical, especially on this first close point, walling off the doorways, trying to make sure that there is not a full 16 comp going onto the payload, dividing attention. So there's so much really that can be done with that May to try and counter this aggression. And it looks like we're going to see a Widow coming out from Pioneers.
We are. I was going to talk about it yet because I wasn't sure if we were actually going to see it stick, but it is going to stick. Nelse showing us what their proficiency is on these hit scan heroes, but it's super with the first strike.
Now getting the double, consistent pressure, the triple, almost the quad, but Wheezy manages to get it, and this short distance will be completed with Pioneers now claiming their third map and having one more to complete this first of 4.
One more to complete this first of 4. We are now on match point here, but super with the play of the game. This is definitely one for the highlight reel, as this Dragon Strike combination with the Graviton was so potent.
5 kills total, almost getting the 6th, but Mayo saying, nah, I'd like to be included. Taking the 6 away. And for those that have been tuning in, it will be now going back to a control map, cycling through, and we saw control be a lot more even playing field for these two teams. So I wouldn't count Nuclear out just yet because the 1-to-1 map score was there before entering the third. We'll look to see what the selection is on the side of Nuclear, and we'll be back in just a moment to see if you can have Pioneers close it out or Nuclear still try to scratch and claw their way to that first of 4. 3.
Pretty sure the reason why we actually saw Li Jiang get chosen is because Nuclear's secret strategy is putting putting Paradox back on, or sorry, Dakwall, every single person on the fair, every single person.
And it's been definitely working a lot of opportunity for them. It's now just going to be playing these obstacles and the architecture for Dakwall to try and get the early advantage onto Nelse, who's been playing still a very stellar McCree in the grand scale of things.
Absolutely. I mean, that hasn't even really felt like a problem, though, for Dakwall to deal with when being on the Pharaoh, because, again, it has a lot to do with dealing with the ground game first. But actually, as we look at team preview, there's going to be no Pharah on either side for the moment. But I do believe that Farmington High School is expecting the Pharah because Nelse's already on the McCree.
And as we've got the few seconds to go, Dakwall hovering over the Hanzo. And with how Nelse has been playing, again, the map selection for Gardens, especially being the first one, having the Pharah play being a lot more relevant because there is no real ceiling to this position. I mean, we've seen some in the professional play where they utilize that center tower to get so high overhead that even the McCree hit scan is difficult to try and obtain this advantage.
It really is, but everybody's meeting in White Room right now, and it's such an aggressive push, and already trades.
Even exchange, but slowly starting to go in favor of Nuclear. They get the kill onto multiple members. Nelse going down, I think, is the biggest takedown after the Reinhardt. That means a lot of value. Transitioning back to the point, super looking for some great staggered picks, but percentage gained early going to Nuclear.
Percentage gained early, but Pioneers back in this fight. Dakwall has been really outpacing Super so far on the Hanzo, so I'm actually excited to see this Hanzo come back up from Dakwall. I talked about it before on Junkertown, but I just think this is one of Dakwall's best heroes, and if you can hit those headshots, that's quick hero deletion.
Mayo needed to be very careful. That shield slowly but surely shredding away, and the rotation from the barriers from a Zarya player is very critical. Amplification Matrix is going to come through that doorway, but the flank, Nelse trying to get some damage, uncontested to the back. So much attention actually on the front that Nelse's flank really won't gain any value here and have to now get a cleanup on the next attempt.
Zing gets away with the charge, though. So, on the Zarya, this is definitely something that you want to be able to hold on to, which is just don't get killed. You definitely don't want to go down when you are full charge, and that's something that Zin is able to work up to here. But Paradox just barely outpacing them for that Graviton. Gotta be some Reinhardt mind games, though. We've got these two Reinhardts battling it out here. Mayo and Skyper both looking for an opportunity to use this Earth Shatter in the next fight.
Dragon Strike also going to be very critical. This choke point is so tight and going to come out early. Earth Shatter to Earth Shatter. Amplification Matrix going to be nowhere near usage, but there's still so much damage regardless as Drago gets the early advancement with the Dead Blossom taking down Wheezy, but Mayo swinging that hammer and dominating on the front with the triple. The quad wants the fifth, but can't. There it is, as it will be Paradox going down. The tank line serving their job with that axe and gaining 5 members with a turnaround at 81%.
81% is the perfect opportunity because even if Pioneers loses the point again, that's usually enough time for them to come back in for a last-second recontest. So Pioneers now has their work cut out for them, but Mayo has another Earth Shatter. They just use this ultimate, Rich. It's like they have it on cooldown.
Mayo's just going to wait and play this corner, waiting to swivel that barrier now. Graviton going to come out. Can the Earth Shatter come through? Bionade, beautiful placement! Oh my goodness, Milk Bits! What a timed nade to make the entire team purple. That could be the opportunity of stripping away that Dragon Strike and claiming a support play of the game.
I love watching high skill Annas. I love it. Because there's so many different pieces of her toolkit that make her such an important part of a team. Not only have the sleep darts been there, but those bionades just so beautiful. And all the healing, there is this nano blade ready to keep control of this point for Pioneers.
Fire Strike coming out early, still trying to generate an ultimate on the side of Skyper, nearing the Earth Shatter to try and counter. And with those double shatters, it's really, like you said, the mind game coming out. Nelse has the Dragon Blade, though. Looking for an opportunity to get this Nano Blade active. Earth Shatter on the front does get one. Can the follow-up be there? That Immortality Field comes out, but is immediately brought down by Zin, keeping this fight still in favor of Pioneers, and Nuclear in a very difficult spot. The boop to try and counter, and Grab is unfortunately going to be expended, and now looking to follow up onto it. The flank there by Drago, getting the kills needed. Numbers advantage in favor of Nuclear, clearing off Pioneer, and now just looking to supersede with 91%, 82 in climbing for Nuclear to try and take this map.
But this is what I mean. This is still going to be a last fight territory because of how much time Farmington High School Pioneers is able to buy off of the clock. But Zing gets taken out so early before they can actually touch.
Dead Blossom in the back, but the Dragon Blade now comes out. Will it give enough value, taking down the Immortality Field? But there is Paradox with a massive amount of damage, almost 100% vaporizing that Ninja, as it's 100% to 91 with Gardens going to Nuclear.
Gardens going to Nuclear, 91 to 100. Rich, this is like a repeat of what we saw in Busan to kick off this series for both of these teams. And now we're moving over to Night Market. This is where you have the verticality of the map. This is where we expect to also see some Pharah play, but we could also see some Widowmaker as well. But honestly, because of the stakes that are on the line right now, I don't think either team is going to be letting up from their strategies.
No, not at all. And it really is just the timing of the ultimates and really understanding the pacing of the gameplay. And it's practically been the aggression of some members that have really been some of the partial downfall when a full team fight happens. You want to get into the engage, but you don't want to get outnumbered and early picked off because that numbers advantage is so critical between these teams.
It really is, and you can see who's going to take the numbers advantage first here as these Reinhardts continue to swing away, doing the dance of shields, but it is going to be Milkbids that takes the ball first.
Dackwall finding a great pick on the back line, taking to support that Immortality Field there to secure the preventative damage by Pioneers. So low in the back line, Mayo does go down by Paradox, who's got a stellar amount of energy on the front side, vaporizing any member that does come close, almost gets the support. There's the follow-up as Narcissus gets the melee, and the reset will happen. Members trying to jump off his super will not allow the ultimate charge to be gained for Nuclear, and a 5% in climbing to go.
you can see how important it is to have your main support online, because as soon as Milk Bits went down, there was no sustain for Farmington High School Pioneers. Now, Nuclear has control of this point, and Norris, because of how scrappy that fight was, already has the amplification matrix, but they're down already, Super, already.
That's important. The Earth Shatter going to land on 3. The shield juking doesn't supersede that Earth Shatter. 26% will quickly be switched back for Pioneers and stopping it at 30.
Whew, again, the power of the support pick.
It's so critical.
Support pick. Yeah.
So critical.
It is so critical. Norris went down and immediately it was just like the team fell like dominoes. And this has happened not once, but twice now. And guess what we have next? A
grab on the front side with the amplification matrix not going to be dropped. Holding back here to counter as you have Milk Bits with that nano boost. Thrown down early. Dr. Drago getting the double to move in. That Reaper damage has been significant here onto these back lines once finding the opportunity. Switching it back. Team kill and 33% looking now to surpass it on the side of Nuclear themselves.
I think the best that we've seen Nuclear fare is when Norris has been playing this Baptiste, because there's so much healing output, and I actually think Baptiste is a really scary hero with this new patch, because you're going to be playing a little bit more Death Ball, which means lots of healing, lots of AoE, and that means lots of damage coming in for the amplification matrix.
Turning this inner corner, Super gets an early pick again on that support as the Dragon Blade comes out, looking for that backline aggression. The Death Blossom counters in return. That Immortality Field giving a huge advancement, and the Dragon Strike now on a flank. Taking down Dr. Drago. The double now onto Paradox, one after another, finding that home stretch as this team of Nuclear really is just trying to survive with the remaining members. But this Shimada brother claiming a lot of value. The Lucio v. Lucio now on the point, just really running the clock. Nuclear wants to generate as much percentage on this.
They really do, but these Bionades and this Reinhardt coming back might be the turning point that Pioneers was looking for.
Now Norris going to get onto the point. Immortality Field no longer available. Super cleaning up. 87%. Practically 30% in addition gained just on this stall, and will allow some time for Nuclear to regroup.
Last fight territory rewarded to Nuclear for that stall as well. Coming back with an Earth Shatter as well as potentially a Graviton. No TPS ultimate to pair with it quite yet, but those tank ultimates can do a lot even if by themselves. Looking at Farmington High School and how they're going to take control of this point, I actually really want to see this nano boost get utilized a bit more defensively. You can't get caught in the Graviton, though. That's going to be the last thing that Pioneers wants.
Skyper pivoting around the corner, waiting to get that chance to drop the Earth Shatter, needing multiple members in this push to secure this point. Charge by Mayo. Didn't drop the Shatter. Graviton available as well. Both tanks looking for an opportunity. Supports ultimates as well. Nuclear in a stellar position. Grab to lead. Now with a follow-up as the Sound Barrier comes out. Dragon Strike to try and counter and give some space. So Nuclear cannot get the executions necessary. Multiple members knocked down, but no follow-up. And now Pioneers in a great position to try and get the push on the front side as the Dragon Blade comes out. Nano assisting. The hack and slash is real. The Reaper needs to go down, wanting the follow-up, but the raid form is there. Only one obtained in this fight as it's 90% to 92, and you see Pioneers able to fortify and bolster defense.
Oh, Zin just won that team fight for Farmington High School Pioneers, and no one is going to be able to come back. It's a team of 6 because Zin's just melted people left and right as soon as they walk in.
Wrecking Ball for the pile drive, hoping to give some time. The Death Blossom coming out, but the deflect along with the follow-up by Zin. Huge amounts of damage for this 90% plus energy Zarya. The Russian beast on the front, cleaning house, 99 to 92. Looking to bring this into map 3 as overtime will reach its end.
It is going to be a round 3 rich here on Lijiang Tower, and what that does that mean? It means we're going to Control Center for our 3rd and final round of Lijiang.
And with this map, I could see a Mei play. This is where a lot of the Mei is very prevalent. You already see Dakwall switching to it, severing the team off, especially on that upper high ground where those panels are, and I'm really looking to see how Farmington Pioneers is going to respond to this.
I think they're just going to stick with what they've got. I don't see any reason that Farmington High School Pioneers are going to stray away from things. But where I see them fare better is really when they get control of the point and they can do the rotation of ultimates like they expect to. Now, where I feel like they might get a little off kilter is how they use Wheezy's sound barrier, because that is important.
Ooh.
But now say, oh my goodness, the deflect.
The Fire Strike deflect was absolutely nutty and going to give some massive momentum early for Pioneers to claim this point before it even becomes available and just swiftly push Nuclear back.
Swiftly pushing them back, swiftly taking control of the point, and now this is where we really see Pioneers get aggressive. They're going to go up to this chokehold. Mayo, with those fire strikes, just netting so much charge here, is going to completely outvalue Skyper on this Reinhardt battle.
70% in climbing for Mayo versus 25 for Skyper. That Earth Shatter advancement has been substantial. Looking to now try and lead into this. Those barriers from the Zarya allowing Mayo a lot more melee opportunity as well. Though Norris having the amplification matrix won't be able to do anything because they're knocked to the ground. The follow-up, the pin in the corner. The immortality field does come out in time. Is there enough to survive through it? The grab as well to pull the team of Pioneers into the midst of things. But even exchanges back and forth, still at 33%. You have Pioneers with a 4 ultimate stack to try and contest against Nuclear as the Nano Blade comes out, cleaning the back line, taking down the Zarya, wanting to go for the main, gets the kill. Now the Reaper consistently stacking up and resetting once again at 46%.
Oh my goodness, 46% and climbing now for Pioneers, and you can see how hungry they are. They want to shut this down now. We are on match point, Rich Rad, which means that if Farmington High School Pioneers wins this next couple of team fights, they're going to be moving on to the semifinals.
Skyper taking a lot of damage on the front side. Gonna go down. It will be Wheezy getting the execution. No ability to get enough healing in the backside because Norris along with Narcissist are so severed away. The aggression is real. 72%. The charge will be available and getting a pick with Nelsay in the back trying to reset.
Trying to reset. They only have a couple of seconds to do so, though, and the staggers are real right now. Farmington High School is going after the kills. They understand what's on the line here, and they have those semifinals in their sights. But Nelsay, they went down. They have to rely on this Graviton.
Grav Dragon, Death Blossom in the back line, though, by Drago. The 2 for 4 in favor of Nuclear. That early May wall to separate Nelsay, getting the fight out early, was absolutely critical.
Absolutely critical. Oh my goodness. The Mayo coming back now. The reinforcements are real. Farmington High School has the numbers advantage going back to this point.
Mayo and Super working in tandem, cleaning up. Skyper on the front, getting a lot of damage onto that shield, but the grab coming out. Is there enough damage to secure that follow-up and make sure that Nuclear is on the point? But the Dragon Blade coming out. No nano boost this time, but still significant slash damage. Getting one, looking for the second, but Mayo finding the executions onto both. 99-29. The sound barrier gives Narcissus and the side of Nuclear an opportunity to stick alive, but Mayo just getting a double kill with that charge, flailing that axe quickly onto the last final member with Milkbit saying, I'm sorry, Lucio, you cannot stay on my point, and the staggers begin to come in.
Staggers begin to come in. Point gets flipped over. Staggers have to come back here. Dr. Drago going to proc the overtime. But this one Reaper not going to be enough. There's going to be a race back to point here with that speed of Song on.
Both supports reaching the point, but the Bionade Land Super gets the kill. Moira gonna be there, the pile drive as well. This is just desperation mode for Nuclear to try and stick in this fight to bring it to another map after, but it is slowly but surely ticking away where even this Winston's Tesla damage cannot do enough to force this team back. The May gonna be picked off, and Pioneers will be able to claim the map of Lijiang, securing the first of 4 and moving themselves into the semifinals.
The semifinal match going to be against the Ludlow Falcons, one of the most formidable opponents in this regular season. Other side of the bracket, you've got Notre Dame Green Knights versus Amity Spartans. So those are your 4 semifinal teams.
What a day it has been. You have already seen all the other teams moving